Hello viewers, welcome back to our series of lectures on solid state. In this session we will talk about crystal symmetry and try to see that how do we relate it to molecular symmetry, and then in what way is it different, and then how do we go about exploiting crystal symmetry to get the structure of solids there. The session is planned as follows, that is, typically as we have been doing all these times, that we will try to review the contents of the previous sessions. Thereafter we will try to see that how does crystal symmetry compare with molecular symmetry, in what ways is different from there. And in this process we will realize that there are two kinds of symmetries for crystal. One is what is called as a macroscopic symmetry. So we will talk about the macroscopic symmetry operations in crystals. Thereafter we will come across a very important rather a new state of matter, what is called as quasi-crystals, and we will try to establish that quasi-crystals does not violate the macroscopic symmetry operations of crystals. Thereafter we will take up the macroscopic symmetry operations, and in this context we will try to talk about two prime symmetry operations which are specific to crystals, that is screw rotation and the glide. Then towards the end we will try to sum up what we do in today's session. Now let us make a beginning by recalling what we have done so far in these sessions. What we have done so far is we started by discussing the characteristics of solids and explained the concepts of lattice, unit cells, etc., etc. Thereafter we explained in detail about the closed packed structures and described the structure of some simple ionic solids in terms of the cubic closed packed structures. Having done that, we took up the concept of symmetry and we differentiated between the symmetry operations and symmetry elements, and thereafter we discussed different types of molecular symmetry operations with suitable examples, and also saw that what are the symmetry elements around which these kind of operations are executed. Okay. So, that is what we have done so far. Let us briefly recall again what we did in the previous session, that is, the molecules show 5 different types of symmetry operations, and of course, there are corresponding symmetry elements, and the operations happen to be like identity, for which the whole molecule happens to be the symmetry element, then n-fold rotations, for which we had the symmetry element to be axis of rotation. Thereafter we talked about reflections, wherein the symmetry elements happen to be the plane of symmetry. Then we had inversion, wherein the point of symmetry was the symmetry element, and lastly we talked about improper n-fold rotation, and the improper axis was the symmetry element there. So that is all what we done in case of molecules. Now what happens is, out of these 5 symmetry elements or symmetry operations, there are only 2 which are important to describe all the symmetry properties of molecules, and these 2 happen to be the axis of symmetry and improper axis of symmetry. What it means is that all the other symmetry operations, say identity can be kind of equated to say C1, say C1 axis of rotation means rotation by 360 degrees is as good as an identity operation. So, that is the example we had in case of identity operation there. Similarly, we can show that S1 operation is, that is, you rotate by 360 degrees and then you reflect through a plane perpendicular to the principal axis. So, what you get is, this is nothing but your sigma, that is the plane of symmetry. Similarly, we can also show that inversion I is nothing but S2. That means, if I take this molecule here, that means this atom, rotate it by 180 degrees and thereafter take a reflection in this plane perpendicular there, I come across this thing, which is nothing but my symmetry element inversion here. That means, if I start from here, pass to this point here and come over here, that means this is my center of inversion there. So, we find that is a center of inversion, the plane of symmetry and identity, they all can be equated in terms of the corresponding symmetry elements like axis of symmetry and improper axis of symmetry. So, essentially it boils down to saying that we need only 2 symmetry elements there. That is very, very crucial. We will try to talk more about it as we build further. Now, let us see in what way is crystal symmetry different from that of molecular symmetry. The crux of this is that typically, as we just seen, that the molecules display rotation, reflection, inversion, etc., etc. But in case of crystals, we have additional thing there, because in case of crystals we have got what is called as a translation symmetry, because that is not there in case of molecules. Molecules are individual molecules, they have got their own symmetry elements there. But in case of crystals, what we have is, let us look at a lattice there. So, what crystals do is they show what is called as a translation. That means, we can translate the crystal lattice, and then we find that we come to the equitable positions over there. So, this is exclusive of crystals. This kind of phenomenon does not occur in case of molecules. So, since crystals are different from because all what happens in case of molecules holds true here also, but they have got additional element what is called as a translation symmetry. Actually, in case of crystals, there are two types of symmetries. One, what is called as a macroscopic crystal symmetry, or the gross level symmetry, what is called as a external symmetry of the crystal as they appear, and this kind of symmetry can be visualized or understood just by looking at the crystal itself without any kind of an aid in that. On the other hand, there is what is called as a microscopic crystal symmetry, which is based on the internal structure, the lattice part of it. So, that means we can, if we have to talk about crystal symmetry, we have to look at two different levels there. Let us start with the macroscopic crystal symmetry. What we find is that as in case of molecules, even crystals also show similar kind of symmetries. Let us see. We recall that in case of molecules, that a rotation by 360 degree by n brings the molecule in an indistinguishable position. That means, that shows what is called as a Cn. Okay. Now, and the possible values of n in case of molecules happen to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to infinity, all possibilities are there. But when we extend this kind of an argument and try to look at the crystals, we find that similar rotations are there in crystals also. However, when we move to the crystals, we find that that n is equal to 5, that is the crystal symmetry having C5 rotation is not permissible. This actually is a consequence of translation symmetry. Let us try to establish why so. Why is it that the crystals do not show a C5 rotational axis? Let us make a beginning by looking at a lattice here. Let us take say about 4 lattice points here. This is A1, A2, A3, A4, and then A happens to be the repeat distance between them. Now, if it is a lattice, then we find that any rotation say along on an axis at A3 by an angle alpha should lead me to a new lattice point, say I call it as B2. Here, if I make a rotation of about alpha degrees, I should be getting a point here B1. So, this will be a set of lattice points which are parallel to this set of lattice points there. Further, we have to see that, so this is my repeat distance here. Since this line here, this B1, B2 is parallel to A1, A4, that means this distance between B1 to B2 must be some integral multiple of the repeat distance A. That means, we call it as MA. Further, what we can see is that if I draw perpendicular from say A3 onto this plane here, and similarly here also, we find that this distance happens to be A cos alpha here, because this is my alpha here. So would be this alpha, so this will be A cos alpha. Similarly, this also is A cos alpha. Then what we see is that this whole distance MA should be equal to this A plus A cos alpha plus another A cos alpha. That is, what we see is that MA to be equal to A plus A cos alpha plus A cos alpha, or we say, if I just solve it here, I find that cos alpha happens to be n by 2, where n happens to be nothing but m minus 1, okay, where m was my repeat distance over there. Now, if that be so, then we find that the only values of alpha that satisfy this equation happen to be 0 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree, 120, 180, 240 and 360 degrees. That means, we do not have a possible rotation of 72 degrees, which corresponds to a C5 axis. That is, rotational axis can only be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 6-fold. 5-fold rotational axis is not possible. That is what we infer from our symmetry. Let us see how do we try to see that physically that C5 symmetry is not possible is. Now, suppose you have got a floor, if you want to tile it with some kind of a, have you ever seen a tile which is pentagon kind of a thing, a regular pentagon? No, because if I take a regular pentagon and tile the floor, we find that there will be gaps in between. You cannot make a very regular pattern with the help of pentagons there. That is, same thing will happen. That means I cannot create a crystal with unit cells have pentagon types. There is no unit cell which happens to be of this geometry there. So, that is, we established that the C5 is not possible in case of crystals. But very recently, in about 1982, an Israeli scientist by the name Shackman and his colleagues have observed a new state of matter, what is called as quasi-crystalline state. What they observed is they have got a Nobel Prize in 2011. Now, what they observed is that the single crystal diffraction patterns of the materials they were dealing with, they showed a diffraction pattern which corresponded to having rotational symmetries of say n is equal to 5, 10 and 12 and so on and so forth. We know that n is equal to 5 is not possible, we just talked about it, but then how is it so that they could get it? And actually, as I just said, it seems that it violates the rules of the rotational symmetries which are allowed for crystal lattices. What they observed can be explained as follows, that is, the quasi crystals actually do not have a regularly repeating crystal structure based on a single motif, because we know that in crystals we got unit cells which repeat in all 3 dimensions here. What we find is in case of quasi crystals they can bring more than one motif there, and that means you have more than one building block. That means they pack in such a fashion that there is an order, but the periodicity is lost in the process. Let us look at this picture here. What you find is that this tiling of a floor probably can be talked about again, and then it can be obtained by using 2 different types of parallelograms, say one of this kind, another of this type here. When you do this kind of filling here, we find that this leads to very regular pattern here. You see that this portion here which has been encircled shows a very beautiful 5-fold symmetry here. Similarly, here also we find that there is an ordered arrangement which is again 5-fold or 10-fold, but we find a region here which does not have that kind of a symmetry. So, we find that we have a crystalline material which is ordered, but it does not have a very periodic arrangement there, and then this kind of C5 symmetry which it manifests in terms of the diffraction pattern, that is coming because of the patterns or that kind of organization as has been shown over here. Now, what we see is essentially that the tiling pattern has many local areas as I just demonstrated to you, but structure as a whole is not periodic, and secondly it does not exhibit 5-fold symmetry and a regular unit cannot be identified in that. Thus, we can say that the quasi crystals do not violate the non-existence of 5-fold symmetry in crystals, because that law what we established some time back does hold true. Okay. Now, let us move further. Now, question is, we know that molecules are symmetric, so are the crystals, but how do we represent such a symmetry? There are 2 ways of doing that. There are 2 kind of notations which have been suggested for that. One happens to be Schoenflies symbols, which actually are preferred for molecular symmetry, what we have done in the previous session, that is C1, C2, C3 or E, sigma and so on and so forth. They are Schoenflies symbols there, which are preferred for molecular symmetry. In case of crystals, we use Hermann-Morgan symbols because they do accommodate the translation symmetry. Now, how do we represent the macroscopic symmetry elements? That can be shown with the help of this table here. We see that the elements of symmetry are similar to what we had in case of molecules, but we have seen only one exception, that is we do not have rotational symmetry of n is equal to 5. Okay. Now, the typical symmetry elements what we have in case of crystals is the axis of rotation, and the possibilities are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That means there are only 5 possibilities are there. There is no other rotational axis possible in case of crystals there. Further, you should note here that when you kind of do the notation here, we have only the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6. We do not have C1, C2 and so on and so forth. We just put the numbers over there. And as regards the mirror planes, the symbols happen to be M, simply M for the mirror plane, or it is 2 bar. And there is only one possibility, you have only one type of mirror plane in case of crystals. In case of molecules, you remember there are 3 possibilities were there, sigma V, sigma D and sigma H and so on and so forth. Here we have got only one possibility. As regards rotatory inversion, so we have got 3 bar, 4 bar and 6 bar. So, there are 3 possibilities are there. And as regards center of symmetry, there is only one possibility, that is 1 bar. Okay. So, that is how do we represent there. That is, in total there are 5 plus 1 6 and 3 9 and 1 10. Total number of 10 symmetry elements are possible, as regards the macroscopic symmetry of the crystals there. Let us recall that in case of molecules, we need only two operations, that is the proper rotation and improper rotation, and they were sufficient to describe all possible symmetry properties of the molecules. Now, when we extend further to the crystals, we find that in case of crystals, these two operations of the molecules, they combine with the translation operation, because translation is a new phenomenon which does not occur in case of molecules. So, that translation operation will give two new kind of operations. One is called as screw rotation, which is basically a combined operation which includes a rotation followed by translation. We will talk about it further. And second operation is glide, which is basically a combination of improper rotation and translation. Let us see each one of them one by one. Let us see what is screw rotation. Now, basically it is a rotation followed by translation, and it is typically indicated by a symbol like NP, where it is implying that we have a rotation of n, that is 360 degree by n, followed by a translation of p by n, where p is the fraction of the repeat distance over there. We will elaborate further. Now, let us talk about different kind of screw rotations there. We start with screw rotation n is equal to 2. What this shows us here is this is a normal rotation 2, that means equivalent of a C2 in case of a molecule. We find is that in this lattice here, now suppose I have a lattice point 1 here. If I rotate it by 180 degrees like this, I come to 2, 3 will come to 4, 5 will come to 6, and so on and so forth. It is a simple rotation 2, but there is no translation in this case. But what happens is, now suppose you got arrangement of this kind, that means if the lattice happens to be as it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on and so forth, then what happens is, how do I go from 1 to 2? How do I go from 1 to 2 is, I start from 1, make a rotation by 180 degrees, so I come somewhere here. Then I translate, I move in a direction here by a distance a by 2, a is my repeat distance here, from here to here is a. I translate by a by 2, so I come here. I again rotate by 180 degrees, I come somewhere here, translate by a by 2, I come here, 180 degrees translation here, and so on and so forth. That means, the lattice can be generated by doing two operations, that is rotation by 180 degrees followed by translation by a by 2. Let us see another version of the same. Let us look at a coin, that is a head here. If I rotate by 180 degrees, I come somewhere here. I translate a by 2, I come here. So, that is the way my motion will be. That means, this will be an axial kind of thing. It will be creating some kind of a screw, because that is a screw rotation. That means, you are rotating as well as translating further, because typically if you look at a screw, how does the screw work is, that is you take a screw, put it there, rotate it clockwise. As you rotate it clockwise, you move further up, you move forward. Same thing is happening here also. As I am moving, I am rotating and translating. So, that is the kind of operation I am talking about there. So, this is my screw rotation for n is equal to 2, and this screw axis for which I have to rotate by 180 degrees, that is equal to 2, rotation 2, and translation by a by 2, this will be given as 2 1, because it is rotation 2 means rotation by 180, 2 1 means it is 1 by 2 translation. Okay. So, that is only one possibility in case of n is equal to 2. Let us move further. Let us look at when n is equal to 3, what are the possibilities. This is my typical rotation axis 3. That means, if I rotate by 120 degrees, I go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, or say 1 prime to 2 prime, 2 prime to 3 prime, and so on and so forth. That is not that is not screw axis, that is a normal axis. But if it so happens that the lattice points are arranged in such a fashion wherein I start from 1, rotate 120 degrees, that means I make a rotation 3, and then I translate by a by 3, 1/3 of the distance here. So, I reach the point 2. I again take a rotation of 120 degree, I go again 1 a by 3 here, take another 120 rotation, go up there, I keep like this. That means, I rotate by 120 degrees, move 1/3 of the repeat distance there, rotate 120 degrees. So, that is the kind of translation motion I will be accompanying my rotational motion there. So, that is my 3 1 axis. because the 3 1 axis means I am rotating by 3 means 360 by 3 120 degrees. 3 1 means it is 1 by 3 translation, that means I am translating by the 1 by third of the repeat distance there. Other possibility in such a case could be something like 3 2 axis, wherein what happens is I start from here, make a rotation 3, that is by 120 degrees, then I translate by 2 by 3 because this is NP. So, this is P by N, P is 2, N is 3. So, I translate by 2 by 3, then again 120 rotation 2 by 3 here, another 120 rotation 2 by 3 here. That is how I link my lattice points in the lattice there. So, that is a typical kind of symmetry operation which is possible only in case of crystals, not in case of molecules. That is called as a screw rotation. Now, if we just take all possibilities, we find that there are only 2, it is only 2 1 is possible, that is a symbol for this. For 3, for n is equal to 3, there are 2 possibilities, 3 1 3 2, as I have just shown you. For n is equal to 4, there are 3 possibilities there, 4 1 4 2 4 3, and for n is equal to 6, there are 5 possibilities. So, they are the possible 11 screw rotations there. So, that is one manifestation of translation symmetry there. Now, let us move to the second kind of symmetry operation which is exclusive to crystals, that happens to be glide. This again is a combined operation there, wherein there is a reflection followed by a translation by certain distance, a by 2 is one possibility. Now, there are 3 axial glides, wherein there is a translation parallel to a crystallographic axis which is possible there. What are these? They are given as A. A is one kind of a axial glide, wherein there is a reflection, that is M represents a reflection there, mirror plane, and then followed by a translation along the crystallographic axis, say x or whatever axis it is, we translate by a distance a by 2. Other possibility is that M plus B by 2, yet another one is M plus C by 2. So, there are 3 possible axial glides are there. In addition to axial glides, we also have 2 more types of glides. One is called as a N glide, which is also called as a diagonal glide. This actually has a translation along the phase diagonal. What we do is, the glide component in this case happens to be the vector sum of any 2, the sum of either B by 2 plus C by 2, that means out of the 3, A by 2, B by 2 and C by 2, sum of any 2 of these will be giving you the translation component of that. And another third type of glide rather is D glide, which is also called as diamond glide, which is similar to what we have here of N glide. That means, we have translation along the body diagonal. This was along the phase diagonal, it is along the body diagonal, but in this case the translation component happens to be vector sum of any 2 of these distances there, A by 4, B by 4 and C 4, these 2 or these 2 or these 2, there are 3 possibilities in that case. Let us see pictorially how do we look at what does a glide mean to us. Let us look at this picture here. So, we have our repeat motif to be a hand here. Now, suppose I look at this hand here, I reflect it through this plane, I will be getting a reflection here. When I translate, I come over here. If I reflect this here and then translate, I come here. I reflect this here, translate by A by 2, because my A is here, from here to here is my repeat distance here, but what I am doing is I am translating half the distance here. I reflect, translate A by 2, reflect, translate A by 2 and so on and so forth. When I do that, I am able to move from one lattice point to another and so on and so forth. Let us see it in a different representation here. So, here again similar thing only. So, you have the point 1 here, the lattice point 1, I reflect here and I come here and then I keep doing that. So, that is my glide A. This is yet another representation of the same thing. So, I have a coin with a tail on that. So, if I reflect it, my this T will become opposite here, and then when I translate, I come here. I reflect, translate, reflect, translate. So, that is how I go from one lattice point to another lattice point. So, there is a reflection, and because this again has a translation component in that. So, this again is an operation which is exclusive only for the crystals. This does not happen in case of molecules. Okay. Now, let us now look at small animation here. Let us look at how do I show N glide. Now suppose I have, these are my 3 crystallographic axes there, and I look at one motif here. The first thing is I do a reflection, I get a reflection. So, if this goes to this here, then what do? I translate here, I translate along the C axis, say by a distance C by 2. Then what do? I move along the B axis, I again do by B by 2. So, that is where I reach. So, this point and this point are related by what is called as a n-glide. I hope that clarifies it. Let us see another one. Now, I have the same starting point here, I reflect, I get this, I translate along the C axis by a distance C by 2, and then I move towards A parallel to the A axis by again distance by A by 2. So, this will be my new lattice point here. So, this T this motif and this motif are related by what is called as a n-glide. So, similarly we can talk about the d-glide as well. D-glide basically would be similar to the what I have just shown you, but it will have translations equal to the combination of B by 4 and A by 4, or B by 4 and C by 4, and so on and so forth. So, that is the way we had defined that earlier. Okay. So, that is the possible symmetry operations in case of crystals there. Now, what are the total possible macroscopic symmetry elements in case of crystal? That happens to be 16, because we just saw that there are 11 screw axes possible there, or screw rotations possible there, because screw rotation is an operation, screw axis is the element for that, the corresponding element for that. And also we have seen that the total number of glide happens to be 5. The 3 are axial glides, 1 is an n-glide, 1 is a d-glide there, and then the total comes out to be 16. Now, let us sum up what we have done today. What we have done today is we briefly reviewed the contents of the previous sessions. Thereafter, we differentiated between the molecular symmetry and crystal symmetry. That means, we highlighted the aspect that in case of crystals we have got an additional component of translation symmetry there, because of that there are new symmetry elements which come into picture, or symmetry operations which come into picture, and they happen to be that screw rotations and the glides there. Thereafter, we discussed the macroscopic symmetry elements in crystals and demonstrated non-existence of a 5-fold rotation, because we did a small derivation to demonstrate that. Thereafter, we briefly touched upon the quasicrystals and showed that their existence, which has been recently discovered, it does not violate the laws of crystal symmetry, because that is observed for the fact, because in such cases we do not have a unique unit cell there. There can be more than one motif contributing to the observed symmetries in that case. Thereafter, we explained 2 kind of symmetry operations and the corresponding symmetry elements which are specific to crystals and which are because of the macroscopic symmetry in the crystal, and they happen to be the screw axis and glide planes, wherein we saw that there are a total of 11 screw axes possible, and there is a possibility of only 5 kind of glide planes there. Now, with that we conclude our session on crystal symmetry. In the next session we will now talk about, because our ultimate objective is to understand how do we look at the structure of a solid, and to understand that in the next session we will talk about what are the crystal planes, and then how do we designate them, and then how does it happen that any crystalline material gives us an X-ray diffraction pattern there. We will talk about the principle of X-ray diffraction, and thereafter we will try to see that how do we get the diffraction pattern and how do we interpret that. Thank you.